Coming up on this episode of Flirtations, you're in for a very special treat as we have on the show today Shaun Galanos, also known as The Love Drive on Instagram for The Love Episode. And together we explore the age-old question, what is love? What is love? How do you cultivate love in your dating lives and in your relationships? What are some common obstacles that hold us back from fully experiencing or sharing love? Shaun also shares his insights on when to say those three magical words, I love you, and what to do if it doesn't go exactly like you want. We'll also not just dive, but plunge into some flirting strategies, like what to talk about on a date and how to make the first move. So, whether you're single, dating, or in a relationship, please join us on this heartwarming journey as we talk about love. Let's do this, flirties.
I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt. I heard you wanted to flirt.
Hello, my name is Benjamin. I'm the flirt coach and a gay Libra. Everyone has an inner flirt.
Hey, flirty.
Live, laugh, flirt.
Work the flirt.
Work the flirt. Delulu is the Salulu. Expert on the flirt.
Hey, flirty. There's always another flirt.
Everyone has an inner flirt.
Get out of your head and into the flirt.
Flirties, on the show today, the one and only Shaun Galanos, creator, the voice behind The Love Drive on Instagram. You know him, you love him. Shaun, welcome to the show.
Wow, what a fun intro. Really great to be here. Thank you, Benjamin.
Yes, as we're recording this on Halloween, sporting some garbs, some things, some costumes.
I showed up with cat ears and whiskers because I'm going to the gym and they're doing like a dressed up CrossFit.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then you had to put on your Lieutenant Dangle sheriff shirt.
Luckily, I have many a costume within arm's reach, and so I was able to, on the fly, figure something out.
Cool. Happy to be here.
So we're going to be chatting about all things love today. The Flirty submitted some really great Q&As that we'll get to later in the conversation. One sort of a dating dilemma here that I received via the DM. So we will make sure and get to that. But first things first, just want to ask you if you could share a little bit more about yourself and your work with the Flirties.
Oh, sure. My name is Shaun Galanos. I'm a love coach. I've been doing some version of this for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this started, the Love Drive started in the back of a taxi cab in San Francisco in 2014.
Yes.
I was driving a taxi and after like coming back from a trip and I needed some money. So I started driving a cab. This was kind of like pre-Lyft and Uber, like right as it was kind of, they were starting to compete with taxi cab companies. And driving a cab in San Francisco was like kind of fun until it kind of gets really boring. It's like the same thing over and over and over again. And a friend said, oh, you should record your conversations with your passengers. And so I put cameras and lights and microphones in the cab and I started driving around and people would come in and I would say, hey, welcome to the Love Drive. And then I would ask them questions like, pretty like low hanging fruit. Like, what do you think about having sex on your period? Or like, how do you feel about sex workers? Or like, why are people shaving their testicles? Like just easy, kind of fun questions. And that was sort of that was the beginning. That was the beginning of sort of this 10-year journey of sex education, relationship education, talking about love, dating, sexuality, intimacy, lots and lots of communication advice and pieces on how to communicate, how to feel your emotions. And along the way, I got certified as a coach, started a podcast, multiple podcasts, courses, groups, retreats, lots of Instagram Q&A. And here we are today.
That's so cool.
People are like, oh, wow, you're a cab driver. Like that must have been so crazy. And it's not crazy at all. There's nothing crazy about being a cab driver. Sometimes you have people that are super drunk. It's really annoying. You hope no one pukes in your cab. Most people don't want to talk to you. It's funny how taxi cabs. Also, I'm sorry, I had like a lot of caffeine before this, so I might go on a lot of tangents.
It's okay.
But like taxi cabs, like cab drivers were like romanticized. Like you do not romanticize an Uber driver. Like it is totally different. It's just shifted completely. So anyways, that's just an aside that I thought was interesting.
You're right though, but I have one more question here, and this is for because I talk a lot about flirting advice and give people lots of flirting tips. And one of my biggest tips is right, if you're in your head, if you're nervous, if you're trying to think your way through it, just start asking some questions, make observations, right? Have that be the point of connection and just start there. So when you're in the driver's seat, you're picking up people, you've never met them before, complete strangers. Sometimes they're not interested in the conversation, but maybe one or two. I mean, you're not going to ask a stranger on a first date about their balls, probably. but
I mean, depends
but
where. It depends where. I mean, where do you live?
I mean, I'm on the East Coast. I'm in North Carolina.
All right, maybe not North Carolina, but if you lived in New York City or San Francisco,
Yeah.
like you totally might. And I started like online dating on Field recently,
Mm-hmm.
and which is sort of like more queer, sex positive, kinky sort of people. And you'd be surprised what
Oh.
people are willing to put in their profile.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you can definitely talk about shaving your
You could talk about balls. Yeah.
Yeah,
All kinds
for
of
sure. You
things.
could talk about balls for sure.
Well, what are some like just one or two tips for asking, like getting the conversation started? You're on a first date or you're out at a party, like a club, something like that. You see someone you want to flirt with, but you're unsure what to say. How could you break the ice, Shaun?
It's so hard. It's like so hard, but really at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter,
Mhm.
right? Like as long as you're respectful. I think you don't have to be the wittiest person in the room.
Mhm.
I think a lot of people are like, I gotta be witty, I gotta stand out, I gotta really make an impression.
Yeah.
But really, I think what you're doing when you're like trying to generate some interest or see if there's even a connection there is like you
Mhm.
open the door.
Mhm.
Right? Like you open the door by making some sort of comment, and how do they respond? Right?
Yeah.
Like, do they respond favorably? Do they answer your question? Do they ask you a question back, or do they just sort of give you a one-word answer and sort of turn around? So it's like,
Yeah.
are you willing to make some sort of a move, some sort of an
Mhm.
effort, and then how do they respond? It's really interesting. A question that I used to use a lot, that I still use every now and then, is what's exciting in your world?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I used to have a really negative reaction to that question. Like, somebody would ask me that and be like, "Oh God, like,
Do I have to?
barf, barf. Like, do I have to?" But I've tried it, and I've used it a lot in the last like 10 years, and it's very effective. It's very very effective to someone who's open to you. What's exciting in your world is really cool because they're going to tell you something that they're excited about.
Exactly.
And so it can generate a lot of future conversation. They're going to be like, "Oh, I'm going to Mexico next week for my friend's wedding." And you're like, "Oh shit, Mexico. I love Mexico. Where are you going in Mexico?" It's like, "Oh, I'm going to Cancun." "Oh, I've never been to Cancun. I've been to Cabo." It's like, you can just go down this like line of questioning. Whereas if you ask someone, like you go up to someone and be like, "Hey, how's it going?" They're going to be like, "Good."
Yeah.
And you're like, "Good." And then you got to come up with another.
Then you're
freaking
kind of
question.
stuck. Yeah.
Kind of stuck. You're kind of
quickly.
You have to like start over basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I
you
love
blew
that
your
one.
like your first impression.
Yeah. And it's like you can always start out like, hello, like, how are you? My name is kind of thing. How's it going or whatever. And then follow that up with the what's new in your world, what's exciting in your world kind of thing. I love it because it gets people talking about something they're interested in, they're excited about, they're passionate about. They might just keep going. And then, like you said, they're talking about a trip to Mexico. Oh, I've been to Mexico. Oh, have you been here? And then there you go. It just allows the conversation to open up.
They might also say nothing, like nothing is
possible.
exciting in my world. And you're like,
Yeah.
and you can go like, "Oh, really? Nothing?" And they're like, "Well, it's actually life hasn't been great lately." And you're like, "Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that,"
Mhm.
And so that can even be an interesting path, right? It's a
yeah.
little less positive, but it could be a way of connecting with somebody if they're telling you like what's not going well in their life is also kind of fine.
Yeah, I've got some things I'm excited about now, but I've had long periods in my life where it was just sort of day to day going through the motions. Nothing super cool or new and exciting happened. And that question was off putting to me because it felt like I had to sort of spin my wheels to come up with something really interesting to say.
And you don't.
Yeah, no, you don't.
You could just say like, "Actually, I've been struggling lately. It's been actually really hard. There's not much that I'm super excited about. I'm working. I don't like my job." And you could be like, "Oh yeah, I don't like my job either. What do you do? What don't you like about your job? In an ideal world, what could you be doing?"
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. Like, this feels easier to do as an extrovert than it does as an introvert.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
feel like
It
it
does.
requires less of extroverts to just like strike up conversations.
Yeah, that's something because I'm definitely more on the introverted side. And so it's like you got to kind of just give yourself. I mean, something I've done is knowing not every connection is going to be a flirt or taken in that direction. You don't have to always be putting yourself out there or striking up the conversation, but just looking for those opportunities. If you see someone that has really cool tattoos or pink whiskers on their face, maybe you ask them a question about it. Hey, what's up? Where are you going later? What's the costume for? Or something like that. Look for those opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, if they're in a costume, that seems like that's a layup right there for sure.
Yes.
But most people are not walking around in a costume.
Yeah, probably not.
And some
Probably
people
not.
don't like to be asked about their tattoos. But
Mm,
but what you're saying is like do something, say something.
yeah.
And this kind of goes back to like, do they open the door? Do they close it? Ultimately, what it comes down to is it doesn't really matter how they respond. It's not about you.
Yeah.
You don't have to take how the interaction goes personally, which is hard to
Mhm.
do. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm a loser. They didn't respond to me, and so it must be me."
I know. I
Right?
know.
And
Yeah.
it can be you, but how helpful is that to like take all of that on?
Right.
And it's like you're talking to a stranger, like you have no idea what's going on in their life.
Hmm.
So it's not helpful to take all that on. I just go like, oh, okay, like my loss or whatever, not the person for me or not the interaction for me. And that's okay. At least I could be like, give myself a pat on the back, like, good job, you talked to somebody.
Exactly. Exactly. You did something that's not always easy, and it's a skill, right? It's something you practice, it's something you develop, and you'll start to build tools around it, ways you like to connect and make conversations. It's just thinking about it like a skill that you can practice with friends, you can practice out grabbing coffee, going to the gym. Yeah. Anywhere.
Yeah. And the more you do it, the better you get at it or the more
Hmm.
confidence you have. Yeah. I was
Yes.
just talking about this, like micro interactions with people are actually do
Oh
like
my
have a
gosh.
very positive effect on your mental health.
I call it the micro flirt.
Yeah.
Yes, I talk about micro flirting all the time.
Yeah.
Very low stakes, right? No expectations, really no intention beyond just this in the moment connection conversation.
Yeah, and it could even be a throwaway like compliment as you're passing somebody in the street.
Sure.
Great
Sure.
pants. Keep walking.
Yeah. Great
It's
pants.
like,
Keep walking.
yeah, great pants. Keep walking. I mean, there's no expectation of a reply. You're practicing just like using your words.
Yeah.
Like no one's going to be offended. Great pants.
Hmm.
And if they are, like, definitely that's on them.
That, yeah. Who wouldn't want to accept that compliment?
How do you feel? I'm curious. How do you feel about like compliments on people? Like, oh, hey, you have really nice eyes, or like you have a beautiful smile, or like things about their physical attributes.
I like it when you start to work your way into the flirt, into the connection a little bit. I think it's
Mm.
really cool to compliment someone's energy. That could be their eyes, their smile, but if it's maybe their jewelry or their hairstyle or something like that, their pants, something they're wearing, but straying away from those just overtly physical compliments right away, only because they can be received as if it's a more sort of romantic sexual flirt. That
Mm.
sometimes is where our minds go. So if someone is approaching you and right away they offer you a physical compliment, it can kind of be like, oh my gosh, okay, well, this person, they're interested in me physically or they're interested in me in that way. And it can kind of box you into the flirt if the other person is, or the connection if the other person is not wanting to receive it in that way. So I love it, but maybe not as a point of entry.
Yeah, I think that's great. And also, they don't really have a say in that physical characteristic for the most
No,
part. Like hair,
no.
you have a say in. For the most part, I mean, I'm losing my hair, so it's like,
Mm.
hey, nice haircut. You're like, it's not by choice. But yeah, style, energy. I like
Yeah,
all that stuff. Outfit, like
for sure.
all that stuff. You can kind of like you had a part in it.
Yeah, you got some cool accessories going on with jewelry, or sometimes I'll wear a lot of times this rose quartz necklace that was like $5 or something at one of those metaphysical shops, and I get more compliments on that thing than just about anything than my mustache. And it's a point of entry. It's a point of, oh, now we can talk about this. Oh, they show me, oh, I have this ring or this earring that has this stone
Mm.
in it, and then there we go.
That makes
End
me
of
want to put
conversation.
like wear a salt lamp around my neck.
A miniature one?
No, a huge one.
Oh my gosh, Shaun, I think you would get a lot of attention.
I think so. Yeah. It's funny. I just got my first tattoo like 2 weeks ago or last week. And I wonder how
Mhm.
much of that is like to get attention,
Hmm.
you know,
I don't know.
to like, hey, see me, I'm here, like ask me about my tattoo. Or like some people want to be asked about their tattoos and other people
They
don't
do.
want to be asked about their
That's true.
tattoos.
Some people don't. They can be really, the story behind it's really personal.
Yeah, mine's not. But
Yeah.
I wonder how much of that is like, oh, I want to be seen. Like I want to have conversations with people. I want to stay relevant, It's like what we're gonna
Yeah.
do to like stand out a little bit, I think is really interesting.
For sure. Yeah, I think we're sometimes we're getting dressed in the morning or styling ourselves or whatever. We do things in a way to because we want to be perceived a certain way or we want people to look at us a certain way, or take notice of us in a certain way. Yeah, maybe something to it.
Something to
I don't
explore.
know. Something to explore.
I'll journal
Shaun,
on it
let's
tomorrow.
meditate on that, Shaun.
I will.
Let's talk about some love.
I love it.
As I think that's that's something a huge theme I get from your content as I've been following you for a long time. And so
I think I remember
just,
you reaching out like years ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I think I wasn't ready or something to interact with the flirt coach.
I was in my infancy at that time, and so I'm glad this is happening now. As there's a full on podcasting platform for
I
us to
love
have
it.
this conversation
I
on. So
wasn't
the
ready to
timing-
talk to you. That's all. It was. I hope you didn't take it personally.
I didn't take it personally, Shaun, because
That's
here
the
we
move.
are.
That's
Here
the
we are
move.
today. I said, I'm not giving up. I'm going to have this conversation with Shaun. And I reached back out.
Do not give up. Don't give up. Unless someone is saying like, please don't ever contact me again.
Yeah, that would be different.
Read the room. Read the room.
Yeah. Back to love. I just want to hear from your perspective, like, how would you define love? Do you think, is it more of a feeling? Is it like just putting words to that experience?
Oh my God. I mean, that's like the hardest question you could ever ask someone.
I know.
Hey, I'll be honest with you. The older I get, the less I know about love. I'm just being honest. Like I'm 42. I'm single. I had a relationship end last year. I had a really rough year last year. And I lost my father actually to cancer. And that, like, talk about love.
Yeah.
Like I felt a lot of love and a lot of grief around losing someone that was so important. And sometimes like that kind of puts it all into perspective. Like, oh, what is important in life? And like what I've realized that it's like friends that are really there for me. That's love, right? Friends that are really there for me. People who don't need me to show up in any particular way, who are happy to accept me, who are okay with me ghosting because I'm grieving, who are like quietly there, are able to give room, but also like let you know that their presence is there.
Yeah.
That's love.
Yeah.
If we're going to talk like a little bit more about romantic love, one of my favorite definitions, and I'll try not to butcher this because I'm totally paraphrasing M. Scott Peck, who wrote The Road Less Traveled. And I think his definition is something like the extension of yourself for the spiritual growth of another person. So like, how do you extend yourself? How do you like stretch a little bit for the spiritual growth of another person? Like now we're getting to some real weird metaphysical new age type of definitions of love that I really like appreciate. Because it's not saying like, oh, it's a feeling of bliss in your body.
Right.
It's that hot chemistry that you feel on a first date. Like that's not love to me. Like that's limerence and lust, and it's super fun. And God, it feels good because it kind of feels like a drug. But like the extension of yourself, right? Like how do you extend? How do you like show up for people? How do you compromise for the spiritual well-being of yourself and of somebody else?
Yeah.
That's a broader definition that you can kind of like play with.
Yeah. I mean, I love it. It's like, I think just having these conversations about what love is, it's like, it's going to look and feel differently just depending on how we're experiencing love, where we're at in our lives. And I really like the definition you use is like, I think about love as it's like this it's this energy that doesn't come with attachment, right? It's a
Mm.
selflessness. It's just a generosity that says like, I'm here for you. You need me. Like it doesn't come without those pretenses. And so I think a lot of times we experience when you're out there when you're out there dating that love looks a certain way, that it has to be earned, but I think it's more co-created. I think it's built on trust and intimacy and vulnerability, and it's something that develops over time. It's something that can exist in many forms in all of our relationships, certainly the relationship we have with ourselves. I just Yeah, it's like I don't think there is a concrete, here's the definition of love.
We can look it up. There's all, I mean, the Greeks had like, 7 different types of love, but I like this
Yeah.
non-grabby kind of energy that you,
Yeah.
that you mentioned, the only thing I would say is like caution people that are like total people pleasers and like will show up
Mm,
for anybody in any way, but also not really have any of that love be reciprocated. I think we need to be
yeah.
careful about that. Like it should be a
Mm,
two-way street. There should be compromise. There should be like two people working towards a common goal, not just like, I'm here for you, babe. Like whenever you need me, just let me
sure.
know. I'm just here. Like you
Yeah.
want to hang or like, no, that's fine. Like I'm here. I love you.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I see where you're coming from with that, and I think I want to ask you now, kind of tying into that. What are some barriers you think that we have to experiencing love, giving love, sharing love, just feeling love?
I mean, I'll just speak personally. Like I'm
Yeah.
kind of terrified of like showing someone who I really am.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fears, the trauma, the stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like I mean, I'll just be really blunt with you. I'm really good at showing you my good side,
Yeah.
and I'm not great at showing you my bad side.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's like not very sustainable in a relationship because you're not always going to be able to show your good side. Like it's actually quite exhausting to try to show up
Right.
in a positive, happy-go-lucky kind of way. And so I
Mm-hmm.
think me and other people really struggle with showing up fully in all of our moods.
Yeah.
The less pleasant ones, the I don't even want to call them negative, but just like challenging.
Sure.
I think that's really hard. Like when my father died, I grieved a lot, and I didn't know how to let someone into my grief. And so naturally it pushed my partner away, and then we parted ways because I wasn't able to let her see me in a way that wasn't happy-go-lucky, and I really struggled with that. So I think that's something that can prevent people from opening up and letting someone in. I think the other thing is like just like wildly unrealistic expectations
Mm-hmm.
of what romance and partnership looks like, and I think I might even struggle with that. I'm like the cobbler with shitty shoes. I give great love advice, but in my life, like things could be better. So wild, and I might have unrealistic expectations of like what healthy, solid, long-term partnership looks like.
Sure.
Yeah.
But you're speaking to so many experiences that we all have just from being human beings and living our lives, where it's like if you're out there dating, or even if you're in a relationship, it's like how I've said, how you show up in dating and show up in your relationships is like they're not compartmentalized from the rest of your life. And so yeah, when you're out there and you're forming new connections, it's like where when do you start to reveal sort of your quote unquote true colors? Or you start, you're having a bad day and you feel like, oh, I don't want to push this person away, or I don't want them to see me in a certain way, and you sort of pretend, or you put on the brave face and the smile and you move forward in that way, and it at the end of the day is not doing yourself the right service. You're not necessarily serving that connection in the right way. So I want to stay here for a little bit longer and just speak to if you're having some of those expectations, or maybe fear, or you're going through something difficult in your life, but you're still dating, or you're still looking to have connections, you still want to bring some love into create some love in your life. How could we do that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, it's funny. I was at the gym yesterday, and one of my trainers she said, you look tired today." And I was like, "Cool, thanks." But I was tired. And
Yeah.
at the end of the class, I go, what made you say that? Is it what I looked like, or like the energy that I brought? She goes, oh no, your energy. You don't look any more tired, but you feel more tired. And I go, yeah, I'm not doing that well these days. Like I'm feeling a little depressed. And she was like, oh. And the reality is that like people aren't really that, she did great, but people aren't really ready to hear your full truth on a daily basis, especially with relationships that are a little bit more like more acquaintances, right?
Yep.
And so I think it can be hard to walk around without a mask, like undefended. I think we kind of need masks to be walking around with to stay safe. With people that we don't know yet. And even with people that we do know, I mean, like, God, how many people have like family members they absolutely cannot be honest with about how they're feeling because it will just not be received well. It won't feel safe. The whole thing will just kind of suck. And then you're like feeling worse off than you actually were. Yeah. So I just want to recognize that like living an authentic, vulnerable, undefended life is probably not what we're suggesting here. But I am suggesting, if you're not feeling 100%, but you still want some love in your life, like, put yourself out there. Absolutely. And the way to figure out if somebody is emotionally available, because I think that's what we're really talking about. We want people who are emotionally available, who are able to like hold us. Why are you laughing?
Oh, because that was on my list of questions.
Nice. Smooth transition to the next corral. That's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for people who are going to be like safe for us to connect with on a more intimate level. And so I think the way to do that, I teach courses on emotional availability, and I think the way to do it is to do these small micro disclosures to see how is this received. Right. And then this could give you information about whether this is the kind of a person that you do want to go deeper with. Yeah. Like you could say to someone like, they go, how you doing? You go, hey, I can be honest with you. Not the best day. Feeling a little sad. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, I really hear, I'm like, I see that. And I'm just kind of curious. Like, is that something you want to talk about? Ooh, nice. Super nice response. Yeah. Like I might feel very safe with that person to kind of go to the next level. Yeah. If the person goes, what do you got to be sad about? You have such a great life. Or like, how can I cheer you up? If people go to cheering you up right away, it's like, well, why don't we give room for sadness or some of the more difficult emotions rather than like straight up trying to like change how you're feeling. Yep. So micro disclosures with people to identify whether they're the kind of people that you feel like you want more of in your life in that moment.
Yes. Would you say these micro disclosures are like or similar to bids for connection that you're going to experience out there dating?
Yeah, bids for connection. When I hear that, I just hear like a desire to connect, like a desire to get closer.
It's sort of like, if you're starting to date someone new and there's something you really want to do, like a farmer's market on a Saturday morning, say, hey, would you like to come to the farmer's market with me? Like that is a bid for connection. It's a bid to spend more time with this person. Are they going to accept or reject that bid?
I could see a micro disclosure as being a similar to that, more of an emotional quality to it than like a physical logistical quality. But for sure, if you say like, I'm not feeling so great or I'm feeling sad, it can be seen as a bid for connection. How do they respond to it? Do they open the door again, like to the door analogy? Do they open it up a little bit more, or do they close the door, or they just kind of leave the door ajar? And I think that's I think you can make that distinction or the similarity for sure.
All right, we're going to stay here. I got one more question for you here before we get to some dating Q&A from the Flirties. And so as you're making these sort of micro disclosures or even bids for connection, you're going to experience, of course, people that don't understand or don't hold the space or don't respond the way you want to or even reject you. And so speaking to that experience a little bit, just kind of coming full circle for a moment, how to not take that personally and still keep the belief and the hope that, right, the love's out there.
Yeah, the love's out there and you're worthy and you're deserving of it. I think there's a distinction to be made here. Is the person just not used to it, or are they just not capable of it? And so an
okay.
example that I have in my life is that I went to this retreat like 4 years ago with a ex partner, and it was like just mind blowing, soul heart opening kind of experience. And it was real beautiful. It was a healing, corrective experience. And I was sharing this experience with my friend, who's a lovely person, and I told her about what I went through. And during me recounting this experience, I started crying, and she got really like, she didn't know what to do. She immediately wanted to console me. She immediately wanted to make me feel better. But I didn't need that. Actually, all I needed was to be witnessed.
Yeah.
Someone to just sit there and hold space and be like, "Oh, I see you. Wow, what a touching experience." Like, you don't really have to do much. I think in this day and age, we're just not really great at like holding space for grief and some of the more challenging, painful experiences or emotional experiences. And so it's not that she wasn't able to, it's that she didn't actually really know how. And I told her, and she was like, okay, like, I'm sorry, first of all, and like, thank you for letting me know. And she's become like a person that I could absolutely share anything with. And she's not going to try to change it or minimize it or make fun of it or whatever. And then there are other people like who absolutely cannot deal with that. Like, they just don't have the capacity for it. They're not interested. It was never modeled. It was never, they don't want to learn. And so we need to make those distinctions. But regardless of who you're faced with, it's normal to have, sensitive, difficult, confronting emotional experiences. And just because someone can't handle you because of that doesn't mean that you're not deserving of love or that you shouldn't have done what you did. Because I think we do need to live in a world where it's okay for us to be more emotionally expressive, even if those emotions are not the positive, quote unquote, positive, pleasant ones. And I want to celebrate anybody who is willing to do that. I mean, it's funny. I'm just thinking of like people that cry all the time. I'm like, there's got to be a limit to it also. Right? Like, we can't just go around holding everybody hostage. Like, it's like, you got to go work on your shit as well, like with a therapist and like process some of your trauma and do EMDR. And like, you can't just be holding everybody hostage with like your big ass feelings. Like, there has to be room for play and rest and
absolutely
for a relationship to be like, complex and whole, not just we're here to hold this person's sadness all the time.
Right. I mean, but you're this so good. You're speaking to the experience that we're all going to have. It's like when you do start to open up, maybe for the first time, you're expressing, some grief, some loss, some sadness. You had a tough day at work, and everything up to that point, you're starting to date someone new, has been great. Just like all fun vibes, right? Sparks everywhere. And can they witness you? Can they hold that space? And I think just collectively, this isn't something we're taught how to do. It's maybe something we're uncomfortable even doing for ourselves. It's just,
yeah. I also, who's your audience? Hello, audience. Who are you? Who
are the flirties?
Yeah, who are the flirties? Yeah, what's your breakup? Your makeup breakdown?
It's a mix. The flirties are truly global. They're all over the world. It breaks down to about 80% women, 20% men, of all different sexual identities. There are a few, I'll say, lesbians in the women category, and of the 20% men, a fair amount would identify as queer. Gay guys.
Hey everybody. Okay, well, great to meet you all. I want to get gendered a little bit for a second here. I have a similar breakdown of my audience as well. It's like 85% women, a lot of queer folks. And what I hear is that like women want men to be more emotionally available, emotionally expressive. Like, that's just like number one thing. But I've also seen what happens like when a guy tries to do that, like that can sometimes turn women off. Because then they're like, oh, I thought I wanted this, but now I'm not really sure how to deal with this.
Yeah.
Like, it makes
I see that sometimes.
So I just want to say, like, you it's like you can invite your men to do this, but you also have to create space for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you have to realize that just because they're sharing some softness doesn't mean they're not your big strong man anymore.
Exactly.
Right? Like, we could be big strong men and also have really big super sad feelings, and it shouldn't really change the dynamic that much. So if you want your big strong man to cry every now and then, and if he does make a very courageous effort to show you that, like I would say, celebrate it, right? Celebrate it. It doesn't have to. It's not going to like disrupt the very fragile male female polarity thing that's going on. Like it doesn't have to mean any more than just that like your partner is feeling safer to express things that they need to express.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can still maintain your feminine, masculine, energetic dynamics and still let this man, just express some feelings from time to time.
Yeah, hold them.
It's a
like
good thing.
Hold them, like, caress his head a little bit and like witness him and get curious about his experience.
Yes.
And then slowly shift back to like something that you've been, that you might be more comfortable doing. That's my PSA. That's my PSA.
I love it. And hello to the few straight men around the world that are listening. There's a few. Hey, straight guys. We love you.
Yes. I host love camps. I've hosted some love camps, and I always want more guys.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that we've heard from the guys that have shown up is that like they want to be in these spaces, but they feel they're actually taking away from women. Like that their experience, they don't have anything to contribute. They feel like these are like women only spaces. So like any sort of programs around like relationships, love, intimacy, emotional availability, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They don't feel like they're a part of. And I want to say like you are so much a part of that, like your voice is crucial to the conversation. Like whenever I've hosted these events where more men show up, they get a ton out of it. The women get a ton out of it because the reality is that like women don't really get to hear about a male's perspective as much as they would want to.
Yeah. I can see that. They're definitely your emotionally available guys are out there doing the work, looking to meet you. And I see what you're saying here. Sometimes, they don't feel maybe fully accepted in these spaces, or like they're encroaching a little bit. And if you live chronically online, like me, it's a lot of the dating content is it villainizes guys a lot of the time. And I've struggled with that myself. I want to call out the shit, right? And hold the guys accountable, because my audience is, right, the ladies, gays, and lovers of men. A lot of people that are dating the fellas, but I don't wanna point my finger and ridicule guys that are here and just really looking to. They just want some help, or they want some questions answered. They want some support. They're looking to date too, and they need some just unbiased, just very sound, grounded advice that isn't, going in the complete other direction of just amplifying masculine energy, and that's all it's about. And women have this one role in your life, and you can go the other way as well. And there's plenty of that out there, which I think both of us are trying to rationalize that that's, a very extreme, I think, take.
Yeah. I like this what you said about, men not wanting to encroach in like female dominated spaces.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's that. And I think the other thing is like, they just don't feel comfortable sharing emotionally. Like it's like they're coming from further back than women are. And it's okay. Like you can add to the conversation with your experience, and it's going to be valuable.
For sure.
And I'm 100% guilty of throwing straight dudes under the bus like all the time. So whenever I do that, I'm so sorry. But also some dudes deserve it,
Sometimes they absolutely deserve it,
and so do women. Let's be honest, ladies. Everybody gets a turn getting thrown under the bus every now and then. It's good for the soul.
We're not all innocent over here. Yes,
it's good for the soul. It's good for the soul. I will say that I've got a new podcast with John Kim. He's the Angry Therapist, and it's called We Can Do Better. And it's about it's like the feedback that we're getting from women is like, oh my God, it's so nice to hear two dudes talking about like emotions and relationships and like trying to do better. So anyways, if you're curious, if you want more maleness in your life, that's an opportunity.
Oh, I've listened. When I'm doing my flirt search, I'm on the treadmill, the elliptical. Oh yes, I've streamed.
Nice. Get the booty.
For sure.
Get the tight booty.
Got to do it on that incline, Shaun.
I'm all about, for me, it's squats and deads.
Ooh, okay. Because you're doing some of the CrossFit.
I'm doing some of the CrossFit. I'm doing some lifting. Yeah, I'm not a cardio I'm not a cardio girly at all.
I see. I
Yeah.
will do that. I'm what you call, like, I say I have popcorn muscles. They're just marshmallows. I really just like them to fill out a shirt a little bit, but
Uh-huh.
I don't really lift heavy things.
I want the heavy. Yeah, mine are like less. They're less popcorn and marshmallow.
Yeah.
They're
Mine are
more
all
like.
air.
I've got like that. I'm starting to get into like old man strength territory.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm 42, and my one of my trainers was like, I make it sound like I have a lot of trainers. I don't have any trainers. It's just this gym has a lot of trainers
Yeah.
for the classes, and so I'll call them my trainers. But I'm not
Sure.
doing any sort of. I didn't want to make it sound like I had like 5 trainers, you know. But he's like, "Oh yeah, you're 42. You're at your like peak like strength potential, not like injury recovery potential. You're way past that. That's like in your 20s and 30s. But like your peak strength, you got a lot of like that old man resentment, kind of built in. Like the world's been fucking me over, and so I've been just like storing all this anger that you can then
letting it out
on those barbells.
Obsessed. Do you like the jump things where you jump and you're swinging and then you're like pulling up and
everything? All of it.
I did CrossFit for a hot minute. And then I quit.
Here's what I love about this particular gym. I don't know. This is probably helpful to some people. If you don't like working out, I think working out is good. I think it's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health.
Yes.
As you get older, it's really good for your bone density. This is for anybody listening. People are going to talk about bone density. This is like so you don't break a hip, because that's the shit that's going to take you out when you're in your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Lifting weights is kind of the way. And I have been like a solo workout dude my whole life. I just like put in my AirPods, listen to a thing, and then do some workouts. And then this year I joined a gym and I started going to these classes, and they have all sorts of different classes. Man, the community aspect, the social, like wellness that you get from these classes is out of control. Out of control.
I'm a yoga teacher also, outside of doing all my flirting things and selling groceries. And this is, you have people that show up class after class, and then I'll leave. I got to go to my next thing. They're in there chatting. I've even seen some romantic connections being formed.
Yes. Way to bring it back. Way to bring it back for sure. Definitely. I asked a woman out on a date from Run Club, and we went on a date, and I thought it was really good. It was really fun, flirty. Speaking of flirty, at the bar, we love a little bar date because we can be kind of like next to each other, but then like kind of facing. We like swivel in, but it's not like right in front of, like the in front, the two top on a first date. I'm not into
businessy.
Yeah, I'm not into it. It's like you're too far from me.
Yeah,
we're the interview format. I'm not into the.
Yes,
let's stay away from two tops.
I feel you there.
But the bar, anyway, so she's like touching my arm. It's like super flirty. We're talking about future plans, like, oh, when should we get together again? I was like, this is so fun, so great. I'm like really excited. And then I text her and I say, hey, that was really fun. Can't wait to see you again. She was like, yeah, absolutely. We had a great time, except for I'm only feeling friend vibes with you.
Yeah.
And that shit happens. And I was like,
that does.
I was at a crossroads right at that point. When you receive that message, you could be like, I'm an idiot. I said the wrong thing. I should have done this. I should have been cooler. And then I was just like, none of that shit matters. It's just not a good fit. Doesn't matter why it's not a good fit. It's just not a good fit.
Right. And it's better. I mean, best that she let you know up front.
Right? Yeah. She could have ghosted me.
For. Right. She could have. Or gone on the second date knowing I'm not feeling it. Just like honesty, letting the person know.
Yeah, that's even worse.
Yeah.
Ghost me.
God. Get to. I've got 2 dating questions for you that came through.
Amazing transitions. Your transitions are so good.
Thank you. You've been laying me up though. I got to say, you've been helping me with the transitions, helping them to come very naturally. All right. This one is signed the Hopeless Flirt, who says, I always feel like I come on too strong early in dating. I feel like my tendency is to do that, but it drives people away. I'm just a very romantic oriented person, and I genuinely care about most people in my life. What can I do to maybe not gravitate toward that spark, to not appear maybe overly interested early on? Or is that a bad thing at all?
I mean, I was going to say, like, yeah, don't do that. do not don't do that. Like, it's funny. It's like, oh, don't take things, we're saying like, don't take things personally. It's probably not you, but like, okay, if there's a pattern,
Yeah.
if we've got data to support that you're coming on too strong, like repeatedly, then you need to like tweak your strategy. I hate to use the word strategy, but like, your approach. I even hate to use that word too. You got to tweak your shit a little bit,
Yes,
like
perfect.
if you're coming on too strong and it's turning people off, then you got to dial it back. If you're not coming on strong enough and no one ever knows what your intention is, then you need to dial it up a bit. Right? Like someone who's getting, I hate the word friend zone. God, it's so bad. I hate the word friend zone, but it's like you're getting friend zoned. Well, first of all, because you're putting people in the girlfriend zone. So that's bad. But because you're not making your intention clear enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like you're not saying like, hey, I'm like super interested in you. I'd love to go on a date with you. Boom. Like now your intention is clear.
Yeah.
And they could say, thank you so much for letting me know. I'm not interested in a date with you. It's been really nice knowing you. Right. There's clarity in all of that. So if you're coming on too strong, then you do need to dial it back. Because it is one of two options. You keep pushing people away, which is just going to be kind of painful and like it's going to suck for you and it's going to suck for them. Or the other option is like keep doing your thing and hopefully someone matches your energy, which could totally happen. That could absolutely happen. I'm more likely to dial it back.
Yeah.
But the problem is like, how do you dial that back? Like, how do you do that?
I'm curious, like, because I want people to express interest. I would very much like them. If you like somebody, make that known and pursue that connection. None of this like, oh, let's play games. I'm not going to text for 2 days, whatever. No, you want to date somebody, you feel like the connection's there, go for it. But I'm curious what other actions, are you also texting this person nonstop right away? Is it good morning every day and you only had one date? So I'm curious
good morning, beautiful.
Yeah, we're none of that.
Like, no,
none of no, let's stray away from that and sort of are they, are you going into this sort of lust limerence, right? Are they all up in your mind? Just can't stop thinking about them. Has someone told you you're coming on too strong or has it just not worked out for maybe some other reasons too? So
that's the problem with these questions. Like I want to be a fly on the wall at these interactions to see what the hell's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. I think sometimes less is more.
Sometimes
less is more. I think maybe a lot of times less is more. We're just already like bombarded with everything all the time. Now we got to be bombarded with this like extra romantic connection that's like kind of over the top.
Yeah.
I think this is really hard to answer because it's very broad, but I think a good strategy is to build a big life.
Yeah.
That is full of friends and work and family and volunteering and sport and CrossFit and flirting and wearing cat ears and going to parties and like reading things and, the internet and puzzles and whatever. So that when you do meet somebody, you already have some built-in constraints.
Yeah.
If you have a small life and you meet someone that you're interested in and you're like immediately 100% available to spend all your time with them, it's going to turn them off.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because for the most part, somebody, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a quiet life, right? I just want to make that big difference. Like if you just love your homebody and you like to crochet and read books and by the fire with your cat, like amazing. I love that. Like I also love some of that. But we're not dropping everything for a new connection. We're absolutely not dropping our Tuesday night commitment. Like if you play badminton every Tuesday night, you're going to keep playing badminton, even if you're in the throes of a limerence, crush, right? You say, they go, I can only see you on Tuesday. And you're like, oh man, that's tough because I play badminton on Tuesdays.
Too bad. You've got a commitment.
You got a commitment. So like, can we push it to like to Sunday? Yeah. And that's hard. You're like, oh, it's like now or 5 days from now.
Right.
You pick the 5 days from now. Or you say, you want to come play badminton with me.
Another alternative right there.
Or you want tea before badminton or dinner after badminton.
Helping the daters figure their shit out. I think that's going to be really helpful for that flirty. I just have one more dating question. Save this one for the end.
Let's go.
the I love you exchange, Shaun. I get this question all the time. How soon is too soon? Is there such a thing? What I'm scared. What if they don't say it back? What do you just a little bit here about the exchanging of I love yous?
Oh man,
Mm,
what a question.
I
Anyways,
know.
been nice talking to you. Talk to you later, flirties.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. Man, yeah, I love you. Yeah, look, okay, I'll be honest with you. I've been known to say it pretty early,
hmm
like within the first month.
Okay.
Not obviously not all the time. Only when like I feel like this is
Yes.
reciprocated and the feelings are
Yes.
mutual, and I don't have the lived experience of telling someone I love them and them just saying like, "Oh, cool."
Yep.
You know, I don't know what that feels like, but I can imagine it's pretty challenging. I want to say devastating, but it doesn't. I don't think it has to be devastating.
Right.
So the way I approach "I love you" is I will say it when I just cannot help myself anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I have like my body is screaming to say it, when I have almost said it like I've stopped myself from saying it like impulsively. That's when I just go, I can't help it. I can't help myself. It's going to come out.
Yeah.
That's the only barometer that I have. Not, are they going to say it back?
Okay.
Like I'm not trying to figure out, I'm not trying to strategize.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do it because it's like, it's so authentic. I just can't, I'm going to explode if I don't say it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
If they don't say it back,
Mm-hmm.
it's okay, because then I love you as a gift.
Mm.
We're not giving it so that we can receive it.
Mm.
We're giving it because we want them to know how we feel about them.
Mm.
Okay.
Shaun.
Otherwise, it's manipulation.
Yes.
If I'm telling you I love you just because I want you to say it to me because I want to hear it because I need to hear it, that's not a gift.
Yeah.
Okay. If you are in the situation that someone is professing their love to you, and you are not quite ready to say it, but you do feel like you might,
Yeah.
then you say, I love hearing that. It feels really good. I'm not ready to say it, but I just want I want to let you know we are reading the same book. You are just a few chapters ahead.
Okay.
So they know we're still on the same page here.
Yeah.
We're not on the same page. You're several pages ahead. But we're reading the same book.
We're reading the same book.
We're reading the same book. And I think that can really, like, this can solve a lot of people's issues, which is like, I don't know what to say if they say I love you and I'm not quite ready yet, but I do really feel good with them.
Yeah.
Right. And then you could like give them a little love. Say like, I love spending time with you.
Yes.
You're, like, this is a committed relationship. I'm not quite ready to say I love you because it means a lot to me. Blah, blah, blah. You can say a little bit more about that to like, I don't know, give them a little love. If you are not feeling it, then you have to say like, you kind of have to have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You kind of have to be like, I appreciate you saying that. And this is really hard for me to say, but I don't feel the same way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's it. That's the sentence. Then you shut up and you let them process that information. That's the whole conversation. Yeah. Because I think that is going to like send your relationship into a different direction.
Most likely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you're not feeling the love and you don't think you're going to feel the love, then I think we just need to be honest about that.
I agree. My goodness, Shaun, as a Libra, thank you so much for covering that question from every single angle, from all perspectives, all possible responses. I think all experiences were included in that answer.
I mean, I don't want to leave anybody out, out in the cold.
Not.
I don't want.
No, we are not shivering here on this episode today. Not in the slightest. My gosh, this has been incredible. Shaun, thank you so much for being on the show today. I want to send the flirties your way, where you live on the internet, how they can listen to the podcast, and just any final thoughts you might have.
Yeah, I'm at the Love Drive on Instagram. Podcast with John Kim is called We Can Do Better wherever you listen to podcasts, and I have a Substack called The Love Drive. So if you just Google The Love Drive, or if you type in ShaunGalanos.com, there'll probably be some links in the show notes.
Yes.
And I don't know what else to say other than say the thing that is scary. That's my final part is just say or do the thing that is scary, because you're going to grow so much more than if you don't.
Yeah. I love it. Shaun, thank you so much for being part of the show today.
Can I give you some love real quick?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my God.
You're the best interviewer.
What?
Yeah, it's just it's like not everybody's good at this.
Yeah.
And you're very good at it. Like it feels warm. You were prepared. You had some good questions. Your transitions are awesome. I felt you present. So thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much. I'm keeping that in the episode.
No, you better. That was for you and for the Flirties to know, like, this is a solid interviewer right here.
Yes, this is my passion project, Flirtations, and creating this podcast. So I feel the love. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Get your flirt on, everybody.
Don't forget to flirt. That's a wrap on the love episode of Flirtations. Thank you so much to Shaun Galanos, our guest, for this conversation, for sharing so much wisdom and insight about love. Yeah. And for more on Shaun, to follow him on Instagram, to follow him on Substack, learn more about his work and his writing, I will have everything linked in the show notes below. Highly recommend you do that, and listen to his podcast too, y'all. It's real good. Yes, it is. And thank you to you, the Flirties, for tuning in, for streaming, for listening, wherever you may be in the world. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I could not do this without you. Like, could not. I can only listen to my own podcast so many times. You know what I mean? So thank you so much. Now, please, if you would, rate, review, subscribe to the show on whatever platform you may be listening on. If you've already done that, thank you a million times from the bottom of my heart. Truly, thank you. And yes, have I said all the things? Check. Yes, I think I have. I will see you again very soon. Yes, coming into your earbuds or streaming from your speakers on another episode of Flirtations. Until then, wishing you all the best, all the good flirty vibes, and flirty, happy flirting.